So, our carrot and beetroot seeds are up, the strawberries are growing, and our fruit trees are looking really healthy. Today we're planting our leafy greens, which are much more of a cool weather plant. They're fast growing at this time of the year, unlike our tomatoes and capsicums, which are still not ready, and we'll probably plant those in about 2 weeks, just as it starts to get a bit hotter, which is what they really need. When you've got a garden with mixed vegetables like this, it's important to plan before you start doing anything. We know we're going to be sowing seeds into part of this garden. We'll be doing some mesclun, which are sown direct, so we want to keep the fresh fertiliser away from those. And we're putting the mesclun in around about here. Leafy greens need a lot of nitrogen and a well-balanced fertiliser underneath them, so we can either use well-composted chicken manure or we could use sheep pellets. We're not going to use these today because we put them at the base of the planter for some long-lasting nutrients later on. The well-balanced fertiliser, we're actually using this one, and this is full of vitamins and minerals to make sure our food is nutrient dense. Come on guys, come and give us a hand to mix all this in. So into our big bed here go the shallow rooting leafy greens. We have plenty of bok choy, some lettuces, Cos and Iceberg, which like the cool of spring, and rocket. The rocket we grew in these great little jiffy pots, so they're easy to plant out and no root disturbance. Okay guys, we're going to plant them up now, so the trick is to get them quite deep, so you're actually making a big hole. See how big that hole is? So Shadrach, you have a go at doing that, getting these things in buried. Ari, you do the same thing. That's it. Push it in hard. Perfect. That's it. We've got another one here. Cover it back over. In our last patch of the planter, we're sowing mesclun, which is a mix of greens, and it's a great cut and come again vegetable to grow. Now I'm going backwards and forwards over the patch because some of the seeds are large and some are small, so you're getting a nice even spread. Now I'm just going to give them a very, very light covering over the top, just to make sure we keep moisture top and bottom of the seed once we've watered it. So in this planter, we've got the long-term leafy greens. So we're putting in perpetual spinach, cavolo nero, and parsley. In the case of the parsley, it has a long taproot, hence the depth of the planter that we really do need. In order to help you get water down to the roots of the plants in the taller planters that we've got a simple little trick using a recycled plastic water bottle. So keep the top on because you need that, and cut the base off. So don't throw the base away. We'll look at using that in a later episode when we create a yeast trap. So we now have basically a funnel blocked off at the end. We just need to drill just a few holes to let the water trickle out very slowly. Now I've just put holes just in the bottom part of the bottle. That way all the water fills up through here and we're just getting the water in quite nice and deep under the roots where it's going to be of most value. So what we do is bury the funnel with the holes in the bottom deep into the soil. Now you can actually do this before you plant, but I've found that in the past the bottle tends to get full of soil, so that's not what you want. So watering with a watering can will only take the water down so far. So what we use our funnel for is to get the rest of the water right down deep to where the roots are going to be. When the potting mix is moist, you only need to fill this a couple of times whenever you water. Over at Pascal's house, the peas are looking great, and today we're putting in some rainbow silverbeet, a kale plant, and some lettuces. As we did with our other planter, we're going to spread some well-rotted chicken manure on the top, and then some of our rock dust. So what you do is just mix it under like this, so we get it all nicely mixed through the root zone. Well done, excellent. So you look at the colour of the roots. See, we've got a white stem, white roots. Look at this one.
Wow.
Yellow stem, yellow roots.
Yeah.
We'll try this one as well. Red stem, red roots. So we'll start with kale. So this is going to go quite tall, so we'll put it at the back. It's also known as the Italian palm cabbage. So as it grows up, you can just pick the leaves and use them in all sorts of meals. This is cos lettuce. Okay, Hunter, we'll put the second cos in. So there we go. I'll do the hole. Push the plant in the roots first. That's it. Firm it in just gently. And we've got 2 iceberg to put in. So both of these take a fair bit of space. So give them a lot of room between. There we go. Nice and firm in. Okay, we're going to put in 3 rainbow silverbeet, also called rainbow chard. And the beauty about silverbeet, you can just keep picking the leaves off constantly and using them.
This one's nice.
It's a nice colour, isn't it? So that means you've got a white one, a yellow one and a red one. You imagine what that's going to look like in a salad. A multicoloured rainbow salad. Yeah, pretty cool. Pascal's courtyard is a beautiful sunny little spot in the afternoon, which means we can do a great crop of climbing beans. However, we've got the problem of the clothesline, which we've dropped out of place. But given the fact these things are in containers, we can actually move the container out of the way should Pascal ever want to start using it as a clothesline again. Okay, Hunter, I'm going to put 2 seeds beside each of the bamboo, and I'll get you just to push them down. Beans, like the peas that we've planted previously, are not heavy feeders. So the organic potting mix we've used has got enough nutrients to support them. That's it, just into the ground. That's it, perfect. That just means if one doesn't germinate, the other one's going to. It gives us a little bit of a fallback situation, that's it. Now we're going to plant flowers in our food garden, and at Pascal and Hunter's, we're planting sunflowers. Now for the sunflowers, we don't want a lot of leafy growth, so we're not using the chicken manure on this, we're just going to use the balanced organic fertiliser. One reason we have flowers in the vegetable garden is to attract bees. Without having bees in your garden, you can't get fruiting plants to fruit. The plants that need pollinating, like tomatoes, capsicums and cucumbers, need bees to take pollen from the male part of the flower to the female part of the flower to fertilise the plant and produce the baby vegetable. The other reason for planting flowers is to attract beneficial insects. The good bugs that will eat the bad bugs that might try and visit. That's it. At Chantal and Clinton's, we're planting up a flexi bucket with flowers. Cosmos and cornflower are great plants to attract the bees. Now while we want bees and beneficial insects in our garden, we really don't want the birds in there pecking at all our good plants. So what we're going to do is make some hoops and put some nets over them to protect everything. We're making our hoops out of a 3 metre length of 6mm reinforcing rod, available at any hardware store, and we've made up this form to actually help us bend to shape. The main thing being clamped to a table so it's strong, a bolt that we can make a circle in the rod with, and a section of timber and a bolt down here just to hold everything in place. So the first thing is to measure out to no more than 500, because that's the piece that will be going into the garden. I'll circle it round to make a loop. So I've cut a 2 metre length of irrigation tubing, and with our 1 metre wide container, 2 metres gives us a perfect arch over the top to support the net. So what we do with the tubing now is to thread it onto the rod. Now the second loop should be on the same plane. So if your loop is that side, it's this side at this end. In order to make our hoop, we need to find something that's roughly this sort of size with nice soft corners, and that's what we've done with our council rubbish bin. So our hoop's ready to go in, and we put it just into the corners, and you'll find our little loops are good to stop when it goes into a deeper container. It stops it going down any further than we want, and it's a good handle to be able to push in and to be able to pull the hoop out at a later stage. And lastly, we put our bird netting over the top. Make sure you get a good quality one. The cheap ones really break down quickly. Now we're using weed mat pins to secure the netting and to make sure there's no gaps for birds to get in. We've talked about the birds and the bees, and now we're going to talk about worms. Obviously there's no worms in the containers that we've used, so we're now looking at worms in a worm farm. The Hungry Bin worm bins are a really good design. The funnel shape of them concentrates all the worms into the upper area where the fresh organics are, and it makes a whole lot of worm-free worm casts at the bottom. And being on a structure like this, it makes them rodent-free. And this is where we collect the worm juice. To get the worm farm started, we pour in 2 bags of compost to settle the worms into. Look how it's all moving, all the worms. Yeah, get a good shake out. Oh, look at that.
Oh.
You got your gloves on, mooch it round to cover the worms. Now they'll eat all of that really quickly because they're very hungry. It's a big circular system we're creating here. You want to grab the kitchen scraps and tip them in? Everything looks after each other and there's absolutely nothing that needs to be taken off your property. Everything is going to be used and we're not creating any organic waste. Keep the lid closed as the worms like the dark and try and find a cool position out of the sun for your hungry bin. Next time, our heat-loving vegetables will be ready for planting out. Tomatoes, capsicums, eggplants, chilies and cucumber.